Okay, we're with Scott Largent, and we're discussing supervised visits in Santa Clara County and what that looks like in a custody or a divorce case. And Scott Largent has a custody case. He was never married to the mother of his child.
Correct.
His court files are sealed. The judge has the discretion to close his courtroom, and the public doesn't have a right to see what's going on with his child, and he's having great difficulty. So, Scott, we were talking about all you've been through. We're now at about a year and a half since you've seen your daughter, and now you go to the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office for help. And what happens
Correct.
when you do that?
Well, what ended up happening is the Family Violence Unit of the San Jose Police Department, they were contacted by Chief Garcia. I wasn't getting phone calls back, so that kind of lit a fire underneath them. Then they escalated it to the DA's office. And then so I got another form from the DA's office, somewhere in here. So much of this stuff. Yeah, so what I ended up doing is, here it is. So they have this, which is a Visitation Violation Report Child Abduction Unit. Now, my child wasn't being abducted, but it was also the Visitation Violation Report. So I had to fill out this document here, and that just included all the information. And then what I did is I brought in the police report from the San Jose PD, and that had all the detailed information. I put everything in there. I put all the text messages, all the visitation providers, the correspondence with my ex. I put it all in there for them.
So you have a court order that allows you to see your daughter 8 hours a week, but effectively for a year and a half, the mother of your child was able to just simply say, I don't like the supervised visitation people that you're selecting. I don't feel comfortable sending my child for an hour every week to the courthouse, which would require her passing security, armed deputies in the building. Couldn't be a safer location. She was uncomfortable with that. Now we're at the DA's office. You're filling out child abduction forms. And if you violate a court order, people believe that that's a criminal offense, and yet this has gone on for a year and a half, and you're still not seeing your child.
Yeah, well, there was never any teeth in the order. There was never any enforcement for anything. She was never held accountable. So time and time again, she would just ignore everything. Now, when law enforcement would call her, and those were incident card numbers. Now I got stacks of all these. It was hard to get them to do anything. So at first they would only give me these, and these are actual incident cards, and they put a case ID number on here. As an example, there's one there, there's another one right here, and like as you can see on this one, this is the first time that I called law enforcement after they violated the order. Now I kept sending her emails, I would leave phone messages, I would want to transfer over, if we're not going to do visitation with your parents, let's go use one of the providers. She wouldn't cooperate. So Sergeant Carey right here, I contacted the police department, I met him at the substation, and then on here it says, spoke with mother who said that parents do not want to do visits at house for past behavior. And then that's it. And then I asked them to actually do a police report. They would not do it. And so what I did the next day is I went down to the San Jose Police Department, and then I asked the watch commander to file a police report.
And Scott, you and I were going over this document a little bit earlier, which is the administrative. This is produced by what we call the Judicial Council in California, which is the administrative office of the courts, otherwise known as the Judicial Council. And this is their guide for non-professional supervised visitation. And throughout this document, they have a number of claims that it is in the best interest of the child that children see their parents. And this goes over the court orders and that people are supposed to follow court orders. And all this is here, trying to protect children from potential abuse and that kind of thing. And this is a guide.
Oh, and then I had the guide for what to do with the, sorry to interrupt you, with the stuff for, this gives you the guidelines, and then it also included, now this was attached to the actual court order and the stay away order. and then it had the information explaining how to do the process for being a visitation provider, so my ex's parents would understand. And then they also included this, that's where I got in with the Catholic Charity Services. Now the Chamberlain for Mental Health Services right here, disconnected numbers. These never worked. Catholic Charity Services, that's the number that I called to try to get the visitation here too. So I just tried everything. And then this was...
So you have a court order when your daughter's a year old, and you have literally been through...
I had court orders when she was 6 months old.
You had court orders when she was 6 months old, and you've literally been through virtually every law enforcement, the district attorney, the judicial council, every avenue, and you still don't end up seeing your child for almost 2 years.
Yeah, it was almost... I was shy, I believe, by about 5 days before her 3rd birthday. I was finally able to see her.
So let's talk about that. You finally pick a service provider that your ex is gonna tolerate.
Yeah, my ex ended up, what she said to the DA's office was that I was providing supervised visitation providers that were not on the list. Well, they were on the list with the original orders that I have, and I do have all the different updated lists, and she tried to say, just like it wasn't a court order, that it wasn't somebody on the list. They were on the list, and it was a valid court order.
So, and Scott, you understand that if a member of the public or the media or an advocate were to try to assist you or understand this, and they were to go to your court file to look at that order and the attachment, they wouldn't be able to see it because your court file is closed.
Yeah, they can't see any of this information. They can only see what I have right here.
So you finally get a supervised visitation provider that your ex agrees to, and you go there and you take an intake form. Can you show us that form that you were required to do?
Yeah, I have this one right here. This is the most current one that we're using right now. This one's over near the airport. It's called, I put on here, it's Kids First, and I went over there for the intake appointment. And I had to pay $50 for me, $50 for Jennifer, so I spent a total of $100 just to do the intake.
Why did you have to pay $50 for Jennifer?
It said it on the order that I had to pay that, which was kind of weird.
It said it on your court order?
I'm not 100% sure. They just told me that I ended up having to pay it. And so
Who told you?
The gentleman that owns the company.
Okay, so they tell you...
Now, at first I only paid the $50 and Jennifer was supposed to pay it, but then he came back to me, if you notice on one of these receipts, and he told me that I owed the $50 and had to pay for both of us. Okay. So I don't know if he's trying to hustle me out of another $50. I will go back through and figure it out. I just wanted to get it paid, take care of it. I don't really trust these people anyway, so I want to make sure everything's done properly. Payment on time, I'm there on time, everything's by the book. And this is what I had to go over, which was everything about... just basically everything about it. It talks about everything about the court testimony, work files, holiday fees, telephone standby time. It literally kind of goes over their whole get down here for everything. And it explains everything.
Do they provide this to the court, or they only provide it to you?
I get this at... I got this from them at the visitation provider.
And are these licensed care providers, or is there a licensing process involved that you know?
No, not that I know of.
And what kind
They're not child psychologists either. He's a college-educated man, the man and the woman that own
Are they
the place.
parents?
Yes, they are. They have grown children, and they all went to college, and they're nice people. It's an older complex. I was a little worried at first going in there. It's kind of like, but it's what I can afford. I can only afford the $50 one right now, not the $150.
Can you show us the receipts?
Yeah. And these are the last.
So you've had 4 visits.
I've had 4 visits.
And are those receipts also for your intake charges?
No, these are just the 4 visits.
Okay, so you've paid that much plus the additional $100 for the intake.
Correct. So you're looking at, let me see, that'd be 125, 250, I've spent about $900.
So Scott, you understand that most members of the public would have a very difficult time understanding that you spent 2 years and $900 to start seeing your daughter again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does this make sense to you?
No, it doesn't make sense at all. And if in the beginning when this stuff had happened of the visitation, like I keep saying, if there was a protocol for enforcement, they would have put the pressure on my ex to understand that it is a court order and she's breaking the law. And then if she got that message properly, I would have been able to see my daughter. All this stuff would have not had to have happened.
Okay, we're going to take a short break because when we come back, I want to talk about what it was like to see your daughter.
Mm-hmm.